What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so this video, I'm just going to talk about this election and as far as how it's difficult to predict what's going to happen. I mean, it's still really early. We still have 66 more days to Election Day. But I do think now people are paying more attention. Especially that's just generally what happens after the conventions. As we get into September, that's when people start paying attention. You might notice in these polls, the undecideds, that number is shrinking. People are starting to make up their minds. And in some states, early voting is going to start soon. I know my state of Virginia starts September 20th. But anyway, just want to talk a little about the blah, 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 Yackity, Smackity. A little bit of the gobbledygook, a little bit of the sin sign and fin flames. But ever since Kamala has replaced Joe Biden as the standard bearer for the Democratic Party, there's been a realignment of support for each party candidate. And I honestly don't know what's going to happen. I'm not convinced about this Harris landslide stuff, but you never know. You never know. One thing I want to bring up that doesn't get talked about, it seems like in every election, there is a state that surprises and shocks the pundits. Many of us were shocked, for instance, back in 2008, that Obama won Indiana. Anybody knows anything about elections? That state, since really, I'd say post-World War II, has been one of the redder states in voting, presidential voting, and voting in general. 2016, many people were shocked that Donald Trump broke into the blue wall of the Midwest and the Rust Belt. And then I guess in 2020, if you want to say anything was shocking, because the polling had Joe Biden up, but Donald Trump once again overperformed on Election Day. And although he lost by 7 million votes nationally, when you look at the Electoral College, state by state race, a switch of something around 54,000 votes in I think about 4 states would have given him the presidency despite losing by that margin. One thing I do want to bring up that I'm kind of curious about is Texas. Texas. I want to bring up Texas for a second. For a minute, I guess. Texas has not voted Democratic in the presidential election since 1976. And up until about, I guess, 2016, it's usually gone to Republicans by large margins. Now, there's some exceptions. Bill Clinton was pretty competitive in Texas in 92 and 96. Now, you could make the case that that was partially because of Perot being in the race both times, but he was competitive. But pretty much since 1980, Texas has been safely Republican, often going by 20-point landslides to the Republicans. But since 2016, it's become closer. I think in 2016, I think Hillary Clinton came within 10 points of winning Texas, 9 or 10 points of winning Texas. Biden came within 800,000 votes or 5 points of winning Texas in 2020. There have definitely been some shifts demographically in Texas. Some of it has to do with, I guess, generational changes. The younger demographic is a little bit more liberal. There's been some gradual urbanization of Texas. You have some California implants that have moved from Texas. Moved from California and moved to Texas. Texas is one of the fastest growing states in the union. And it has a growing Hispanic population. And there's some trends that I remember seeing before. I think it's Denton County. Denton County went for Trump. I think I remember reading. No, Romney. It went for Romney by 20 points in 2012. Denton County. In 2016, I think Trump won Denton County by, 10 points. And then in 2020, I think he only won it by 4 points. So that county has been trending Democratic. I think in order for Kamala to have a shot, that trend has to continue in Texas, and she has to overperform in Harris County. If she can do those things, then we might see something shocking in Texas. I don't think it's really going to happen, but you never know. One of the things that I think is a indication that Texas is changing is I've seen a poll that showed Ted Cruz only up by 2 points in his Senate race. Now, let me look at something right quick. He's running against somebody named Colin Allred. Now, I think back in 2000 and I think he was first elected to that seat in 2006, I think it was. And the first 2 times he won by double digits. In 2018, I think he ran against, what was the guy's name? Shit. I cannot think of his name. I have his face in my mind, but I can't think of his name. I think he only beat him by like 6 points or 5 points or something like that. But the last poll I saw had him only up by 2, whereas earlier this year he was up by as much as 10. So I'm not saying that's an indication that he's going to lose. He may very well win, and by a margin bigger than that. But Texas is no longer the extremely safe red state that it once was. We already seen the changes that's happened in Georgia. Georgia used to be a red state. Georgia is now very competitive. In fact, Biden won it in 2020, and Harris's campaign is making a huge play at that state, as is Pennsylvania. And the demographics favor her in Arizona and Nevada. So at the end of the day, this is going to be a close race. I think it's going to be an extremely close race. And I think it's going to come down to really turnout, because I think most voters, the vast majority of voters are very partisan, and they look at this election almost like team red versus team blue. It's no longer about issues. I think that these elections have become almost like sports. It's like, what team are you on? It's not. It's the electorate is so stupid. I'm sorry that's just the case. I just gotta be honest. The electorate is so dumb. It's no longer about what a candidate is going to do when they get in the office. It's about beating the other side. That's what's more important. That's why so many people vote against their interests, and these politicians laugh at us. But that's how it works. Demonize the other side. Make people believe that the other side is against them, that they're the enemy. Negative campaigning, people claim they don't like it. but it works. And that's how this thing is gotten. This is how the races, these races are now. It's not about issues, it's about personalities, and it's about the demonization of the other person's, the other party's standard bearer. But I think this race is going to go down to the wire. I tend to believe that two things are going to happen. Either two things are going to happen. One, Kamala Harris may very well perform as the polls show and win at least an Obama-sized 2012 victory, or Donald Trump is not being properly represented in these polls, and he may come away with an electoral college victory, though I still think that he would probably lose the popular vote. But, that could very well happen, because he could very well win all of the red states that's going to go to his go in his column, but he could still very well win Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, although I tend to think she's probably going to win that state. But he could win Wisconsin, and I don't think he's going to win Minnesota now that she got Tim Walz on the ticket. But I'm going to tell you something that should be concerning to the Democrats. When Obama was running both times, right? When Obama was running for president, well, the first time when he ran for president, there were states that he carried and states that he was competitive in that no longer are even remotely possible for the Democrats. For instance, he carried, as I said before, Indiana. That state is not in play for the Democrats. He carried North Carolina. That state hasn't been carried since 2008, though the Harris campaign hoped they can do it. He carried Florida twice. They haven't carried it since. He carried Iowa twice. That state has been trending red. He carried Ohio twice. That state has seriously trended red, to the point where the Democrats aren't even competitive in the presidential election there. He almost carried Missouri in 2008, and he almost carried, I believe it was Montana. The Democrats are not competitive there anymore. And Nevada, which had been leaning left, leaning blue, is turning into a swing state again. So those should be some concerning signs for Democrats, But on the other side, Georgia, which was Republican, is now a swing state. And Arizona, which was Republican, is a swing state. So those were trends that have developed that go against Republicans, but there's more trends against the Democrats than Republicans. But anyway, that's all I got to say about it. Tell me what you guys think. Blah, blah, blah. Yackity, Smackity.